What's up, CFO gang? It's your boy Jay Tuck. Real Cowboys fans, stand up and do me a quick favor. Comment, like, and subscribe to the channel, and make sure you turn that notification bell so you do not miss out. Now, it seems to be a hot topic button, right? When it comes to our offense. Tuck, who is going to be our wide receiver for? In Cowboys Nation, I want you to pause real quick, right? Just pause. You know how good that sounds? Do y'all know how good that sounds? That we are now having conversations about who should be our wide receiver for, just a few months ago, back in February, back in March, we was having conversations and throwing fits and had our picket signs out for wide receiver 2 as we was gearing up for the draft. And as we left the draft out there in Wisconsin, Green Bay, Wisconsin, a lot of Cowboys fans were still upset that we didn't have our wide receiver 2. And then lo and behold, on one Christmas Eve, we all got that notification that the Dallas Cowboys have traded for George Pickens, and everything has been kosher when it comes to team weapons. Now, Devontae Turpin has emerged as, I would say, wide receiver 2.5, 3, whatever you want to call it. But there is conversations about who is going to be our wide receiver for. Now, to be honest with you, I ain't tripping. Right, that's the least of my worries, but I think as we gear up, as we kind of complete this last few preseason games, it's something to keep our eyes on. Now, I want to start with somebody who, I'll say that, I don't want to say I found him, but I was very vocal about him coming out of the draft because I scouted him extremely heavy. And that's Jaylen Tolbert out of South Alabama. Jaylen Tolbert had a phenomenal Senior Bowl. And when I was watching this kid's film, I said, oh, there is something there. Now, did I think he was going to be the wide receiver that was going to replace Amari Cooper? Absolutely not. That was not my intent. But I did feel like Jaylen Tolbert was a guy that you can add to this Dallas Cowboys roster in the 4th or 5th round, maybe the 3rd round, that can really help with the rotation. And I feel like Jaylen Tolbert has done that, right? Since he was a rookie to where we see him now, he has taken steps forward in the right direction. And a lot of people forget, Jaylen Tolbert wasn't a football player at all. He was a baseball player, didn't play the game of football until late in high school, I think around his junior or senior year, went to South Alabama, played well, but he was still kind of learning the ropes. He even spoke about in interviews how the coach at South Alabama had to simplify things. Now, remember, Jaylen Tolbert did receive offers to transfer to big SEC schools, but he wanted to stay at South Alabama because they were the first school to believe in him. Then he was drafted in the 3rd round by the Dallas Cowboys. So overall, I do think Jaylen Tolbert is a quality depth piece. Do I think he's one of those guys you have to circle as a defensive coordinator? No, absolutely not. I was playing Madden last night, and my opponent had the Dallas Cowboys, and he went crazy with Jaylen Tolbert. He had like 5 receptions for 141 yards. But why did he have that? He still lost the game. But why did he get that off on me? Because I was not concerned about losing to Jaylen Tolbert. So I was leaving Jaylen Tolbert wide open. I had other issues to worry about, and CeeDee Lamb and Pickens and Turpin and Ferguson and all that. Right. If Jaylen Tolbert went crazy on me, then so be it. And I feel like that is how defensive coordinators were able to scheme versus the Dallas Cowboys last year, especially without Brandon Cooks. It was like, okay, if Jaylen Tolbert beats us, then so be it. And he did win a few games, right? He did step up. He was our leading touchdown receiver, so take that with a grain of salt. But I feel like the thing that really draws back the excitement for a lot of Cowboys fans when it comes to Jaylen Tolbert, there's nothing that he does special. He just does a few things all right. He's all right. When his number's called, he'll step up, right? He's not great in separation. He's not really a big yak guy, not extremely athletic, not a route runner, doesn't really block the best, special teams, he's cool, so there's a lot of just okay, cool little things when it comes to Jaylen Tolbert. And that's okay at the NFL level. Not everybody's going to be CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens, but it leaves Dallas Cowboys fans questioning, Tuck, can we Beyonce this and upgrade it? And I would have to say the way the roster is currently constructed, yes. All right. Now, there has been conversations about trading Jaylen Tolbert. I've been asked this question a lot. Yo, Tuck, would you trade Jaylen Tolbert? It depends, right? It really depends on what's his market value as far as trade is concerned versus what would you get in return for a comp pick. Because I do feel like Jaylen Tolbert will not be re-signed next year at the Dallas Cowboys wide receiver because there's so much talent in-house. And they definitely ain't going to pay you, right? So if you're going to lose him, maybe if you can get another guy, defensive tackle, a cornerback, then yeah, I would be all ears for moving on from Jaylen Tolbert because some of the other guys that we're about to talk about can really step in and fill this void. Now, I was having this conversation today on the phone, and I know we're excited about KaVontae Turpin, and I know we're excited about George Pickens, rightfully so. But listen, y'all, I'm going to tell you, don't count out Jonathan Mingo. Jonathan Mingo was another player I scouted heavily out of Ole Miss, and I liked his talent. And he has the traits, right? He really does have the traits. Really didn't have the quarterback like he's going to have now in Dak Prescott when he was in Carolina. So even though Jonathan Mingo hasn't seen the end zone in his NFL career, the traits, the mold, it's all there. And if he gains some confidence, y'all, it can get scary. It could get scary if Jonathan Mingo really remembers who he was back in college before he had to go to Carolina, right? He can really turn things up a notch. Now, the one thing that's probably going to limit Jonathan Mingo is his role kind of got sniped by George Pickens because they kind of do the same things. But sometimes when you're in the red zone or you just need those big physical wide receivers, you can go with 2 and 3 of them. You can have CD in the slot. You can have Mingo on the outside. And then you can have Pickens on the boundary. You can mix it up. And with that size, you definitely have to have the corners to match it. Because if not, you can get big body. Because Jonathan Mingo, he stays in the weight room, right? So I feel like Jonathan Mingo is really a lock. Because 1, we traded for him, brought him in. And 2, he's our just in case of emergency. Just in case I don't make it home. Just in case something goes wrong with George Pickens and we aren't able to sign him because Dave Mujetta and Jerry Jones just seem to not want to talk on the phone for whatever odd reason, right? Jonathan Mingo could possibly step in and maybe fill that void. Now, I'm hoping that Pickens resigns. I hope this ain't just a, one night stand. Let's put a ring on it when it comes to George Pickens, but Jonathan Mingo can definitely step up and fill the void. Now, it leads to the important conversation that a lot of Cowboys fans, self-included, are excited about, and that is Traeshon Holden. Listen, y'all, I was having this conversation today. If it wasn't for some of the actions from Traeshon Holden, he should have been a draft pick, right? He should have been a draft pick, 6th round, 7th round. Not really sure why he slid in the draft like he did, but I'm happy the Dallas Cowboys got him. This is a kid that is explosive. So he's the complete opposite spectrum of Jaylen Tolbert, right? Jaylen Tolbert has to work, study, lift the weights, eat your vitamins, say your prayers. Rest in peace to Hulk Hogan, right? Jonathan Mingo just got to put the cleats on. He can go out there and ball. I mean, and Traeshon Holden can just put the cleats on. They can just go out there and ball, right? Traeshon Holden is a guy that has the upside potential that is through the roof. So it always comes down to high ceiling or high floor. Jaylen Tolbert's a high floor, low ceiling. You know what you're already going to get. But Traeshon Holden, he could bust through the roof. Traeshon Holden can really be your wide receiver 3 possibly, and it could be scary what he can really become at the NFL level. So I feel like the Dallas Cowboys will hold on to him. 1, we saw the traits in the first preseason game. We saw what he's been doing at camp. Shotty said he's moving up the depth chart. Everyone's speaking highly about him. You have his coach and Junior Adams coming from Oregon, so he has a sponsor in the building. I feel like Traeshon Holden, he has every opportunity to make this final 53-man roster unless he just fumbles it, which I do not see happening. And also, he's putting out the film. He will get sniped. if you try to get him through waivers. I know people say, oh, Cowboys fans freak out every year about clearing waivers. He's one, don't let him go through waivers, right? So if I had to gauge it as of today, no knock to Jalen Brooks and Remo Corper and all those other people and Josh Kelly's, I'm going with CeeDee Lamb, of course, George Pickens, of course, Kevontae Turpin, Jonathan Mingo, and Traeshon Holden, and I'm trying to find a trade partner for Jaylen Tolbert, but the Dallas Cowboys can't. It's really going to create a difficult circumstance and conversation because you can't keep all these wide receivers. Somebody got to go, and I just don't think that somebody will be Traeshon Holden, man. So it's your boy J Tuck. Comment, like, subscribe. Follow me on all social media platforms at JTuck151. If you love Cowboys content, well, you're in the right spot, baby. Hit that notification bell so you do not miss out. I want everyone to stay safe, stay blessed, stay encouraged. And wide receiver 4 is a great problem to have, Cowboys fans. We are blessed right now. Peace.